everyone, welcome back to my channel. I am Swati and we are discussing English literature. So in the previous videos, we talked about British literature, we talked about William Shakespeare, we discussed Geoffrey Chaucer, Age of Revival, drama in the Age of Revival. We talked about all 37 plays of William Shakespeare, his sonnets, important characters, quotations and whatnot. In short, we have started with British literature and we have covered till William Shakespeare. We talked about everything which is important for UGC NET exam. So when I was making those videos, I got this suggestion that I should actually talk about literary theories as well. Now, literary theories, they are actually very scary. They seem very scary. They are quite tough to understand. They are a bit tricky. So we get scared easily. When I was preparing for my exam, I was like, I am not even doing them. I was really scared of them. So I didn't even touch them till the last moment. But then I realized this is not how you are supposed to clear your exam. You just cannot do without literary theory. So it's important for us to understand them. So we are taking a pause from the British literature. We will talk about the remaining important playwrights and works and of course ages in the coming videos. But first, let's discuss literary theories so that it becomes easy for you to understand and you get some confidence because you feel that you can do other things but not literary theories. So we'll talk about literary theories. Now before starting with literary theories, let me tell you what exactly a literary theory is. Literary theory is actually a method, a way which writers or critics use to review a particular literary work from one perspective. Theories are basically the systematic, the ordered generalization or category which helps us in understanding or exploring or explaining a particular work from a particular point of view. Now this is all textbook definition. Let me make it easy for you. Literary theories, they are actually like glasses. वो चश्मे के जैसे होते हैं. So when we are wearing a glass, it helps us in looking at things in a better way. We look at things more clearly. Things are more clear. Things are more understandable to us. चश्मा पहनने के बाद हमें चीजें ज्यादा क्लियर, ज्यादा अच्छे तरीके से दिखाई देती हैं. चश्मे का रोल ये होता है. अब बहुत तरह के चश्मे होते हैं, कुछ कलर्ड भी होते हैं, तो हम जो कलर का चश्मा पहनते हैं हमें दुनिया उस रंग की दिखाई देती है. Similarly, literary theories are like those glasses. Whichever we wear, we look at the world from that particular color, from that particular point of view. जैसे कि अगर हम बात करें मार्क्सिज्म की, तो अगर हमने मार्क्सिज्म का चश्मा पहना है तो हम एक लिटरेरी वर्क को इस नजरिए से देखेंगे कि उसके अंदर इकोनॉमी क्या रोल प्ले करती है, पैसा कितना मायने रखता है, कहाँ कहाँ इकोनॉमी आ रही है. Likewise, if you are looking at a work from a feminist point of view, we'll see how the work is affecting a woman. How are the women character portrayed in the play? If they are happy, if they are not happy, how is society, affecting them? What are they doing to those women? ऐसे ही और बहुत सारी, जैसे कि इको क्रिटिसिज्म, तो नेचर क्या रोल प्ले कर रहा है उस वर्क में, तो ये नेचर के नजरिए से देखना, एक औरत के नजरिए से देखना या फिर इकोनॉमी के नजरिए से देखना, दीज आर द लिटरेरी थ्योरीज. So this is what literary theory is, looking at a work from a particular perspective, from a particular point of view and reviewing them is what makes literary theorist or literary theory. So this was about that. Now, literary theory, they are not something new. This is not something which has just come up. It's been in literature from a really long time. Aristotle in the 4th century BC, he wrote his Poetics, and that is the first example of a literary work. In Poetics, he talked about tragedy, about poetry, characters, drama, and he talked about catharsis, hamartia, and all those things. So that was the first literary work. After him, many theorists came. We have Philip Sidney, who wrote Defense of Poesy or Apology for Poetry, and if you don't know about it yet, I have made a video. Make sure you click on the link and watch it. It will help you understand Philip Sidney and his defense of poetry, and of course his other important works. After Philip Sidney, we have Samuel Johnson, who wrote Life of Poets and preface to William Shakespeare. Then we have Wordsworth, who wrote Lyrical Ballad. We have Coleridge, Samuel Taylor Coleridge, who wrote Biographia Literaria. Then we have P.B. Shelley, who wrote A Defense of Poetry. We have T.S. Eliot, who wrote Tradition and Individual Talent. So what I want to say is that literary theory is not something which has just come up. It's been in the literature for a really long time, and this is the chronological order. This is the timeline from Aristotle till Coleridge. These were all important literary theorists. Now we'll talk about the first literary theory, which is important for our UGC NET exam, and that literary theory is structuralism. So structuralism is a literary theory, of course, in which the writers, the theorists, says that a meaning of a particular work or a work cannot be understood in isolation. यानी कि कोई भी लिटरेरी वर्क को आप सिर्फ उस लिटरेरी वर्क के डायमेंशन में नहीं समझ सकते. कोई भी लिटरेरी वर्क अकेले में नहीं समझा जा सकता. यू हैव टू लुक एट द ब्रॉडर एस्पेक्ट. यू हैव टू कनेक्ट इट टू द बिगर स्ट्रक्चर विच इट इज अ पार्ट ऑफ. Structuralism, according to structuralism, meaning cannot be derived in isolation. You need to associate it with other things. Structuralist approach takes you further away from the text and into large and comparatively abstract questions of genre, history and philosophy rather than closer to it. In easier language, it means that अगर हम एक analogy ले चिकन और एग कि चिकन या एग अगर हम इनकी एनालॉजी ले रहे हैं, तो एक स्ट्रक्चरलिस्ट जो होगा, अगर उसे एग का मीनिंग पता करना है, तो इंस्टेड ऑफ फोकसिंग ऑन द एग, वो एग से दूर जाएगा. यानी कि एग किस कॉन्टेक्स्ट में है? बहुत सारे एग्स के ट्रे के कॉन्टेक्स्ट में. बहुत सारे एग्स के ट्रे कहाँ से आए? दे केम फ्रॉम द फैक्ट्री. फैक्ट्री में एग्स कहाँ से आए? लेट्स से चिकन से. तो वो उस एग से दूर दूर जाता जा रहा है एक एब्स्ट्रैक्ट आइडिया की तरफ, एक ब्रॉडर टर्म की तरफ. यानी कि एक लिटरेरी वर्क, अगर लेट्स से फॉर एग्जांपल द वर्क मिडल मार्च, वी हैव टेकन दिस नॉवेल मिडल मार्च. अगर हमें मिडल मार्च को स्ट्रक्चरलिस्ट के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से समझना है, तो हम सिर्फ मिडल मार्च को नहीं देख सकते. वी हैव टू लुक एट द अदर वर्क ऑफ द राइटर, और नॉट जस्ट अदर वर्क ऑफ दिस पर्टिकुलर राइटर, अदर वर्क ऑफ द एज. Also, if the work is a picaresque work, if it's a coming of age story, so we have to look at other coming of age story even though they do not belong to this particular age. तो स्ट्रक्चरलिज्म का मतलब कि आइसोलेशन में आप कोई वर्क नहीं समझ सकते. यू हैव टू लुक एट द ब्रॉडर एस्पेक्ट. Now structuralism, it came in France in 1950s with writers like Claude Levi-Strauss or Roland Barthes and all those writers. But in Britain, in British literature, it came in 1970. And that is when structuralism in Britain actually started happening. That is when writers came up with this approach on how to look at a work from a structuralist point of view. Now we have a lot of important structuralists, and we'll talk about them, of course, in detail now. So the first structuralist, first structural theorist is Ferdinand de Saussure. Ferdinand de Saussure, he was actually born in 1857 and he died in 1930. He has written the most important work of this particular theory, which is Course of General Linguistics. Course of General Linguistics is a book comprising of his lectures in the University of Geneva. So he gave these lectures in the University of Geneva, and all those lectures, they are compiled in the book with the name Course in General Linguistics. In this particular book, he talked about signs, what signs are, their features, their characteristics. So according to Saussure, signs, they are abstract, or meaning actually is abstract. He says that meaning is abstract, it's arbitrary. Its meaning is always relational to other things, and that meanings or language is the most important part of human existence. Let me explain them to you. He says that meaning is arbitrary. By this he means that कि हमने चीजों को मीनिंग दिया है. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, हम किसी भी चीज को कोई भी मतलब मीनिंग दे सकते हैं, किसी भी वर्ड को. अगर अगर हम बोले डोर, तो हमारे दिमाग में इमीडिएटली एक इमेज आती है एक डोर की, एक दरवाजे की. अगर हम बहुत स्टार्टिंग से या कभी से ही एक पेंसिल को डोर कहते, अगर इसका नाम डोर होता हमेशा से ही, तो जब हम डोर बोलते तो हमें पेंसिल याद आती. कहने का मतलब ये है कि मीनिंग बाय द पैसेज ऑफ टाइम किसी वर्ड से एसोसिएट हो जाते हैं, बट उनका कोई एग्जैक्ट रिलेशन नहीं होता मीनिंग और वर्ड का. ये आर्बिट्रेरी होता है, ये बना लेते हैं हम विद द पैसेज ऑफ टाइम. अगर ऐसा कोई चीज है जिसका कोई अभी तक वर्ड डिसाइड नहीं हुआ है कि उसे क्या कहेंगे, और अगर हम उसे कोई वर्ड दे दे, तो बाय द पैसेज ऑफ टाइम उस वर्ड के साथ वो मीनिंग जुड़ जाएगा, एसोसिएट हो जाएगा, एंड लेटर ऑन व्हेन विल से दैट पर्टिकुलर वर्ड, वो अलग इमेज हमारे दिमाग में आएगी. सो दिस इज व्हाट ही मेंट बाय मीनिंग इज आर्बिट्रेरी. नाउ मीनिंग इज रिलेशनल एज वेल. ही सेज दैट मीनिंग इज रिलेशनल, यानी कि किसी चीज से जोड़कर देखा जाता है. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, ही गेव दिस ब्यूटिफुल एग्जाम्पल इन विच ही मेंशंस वर्ड लाइक शेड, हट, house, mansion and palace. Shed, hut, house, mansion and palace. When we say house, we know that house is something which is bigger than a hut but smaller than a mansion. When we say a palace, we know palace is bigger, huge than a house or a mansion. It's like very big thing, very big place. So meaning is relational. Now because we know what a house is, only then we can say that it is bigger than a hut and smaller than a mansion. So meaning is relational. This is what he says in his work. Other than that, he has given the concept of sign, in which he says that there are two things. One is signifier and the second is signified. Signifier is actually the word, and signified is actually the concept. For example, if there is a chair over there and you have to ask someone to bring that chair, you will say bring that chair. Now the chair is the signifier, and the image that comes to the mind of the person is signified. The concept of chair is signified, and the thing is signified. The word is signifier. So this is what signifier and signified is. Then he gave what is known as lang and parole. Lang and parole are two important part of Saussure's, या in general linguistics के भी. So lang is what is known as the grammar of the language, and parole is actually the usage of that grammar. For example, if someone is speaking to you in French and you do not know the lang, you do not know the grammar, so whatever the person is saying, whatever parole that he is using, you'll not be able to understand it. So to understand the parole, to understand the outcome of the lang, you have to understand the lang. अगर आपको ग्रामर नहीं पता, अगर आपको लैंग्वेज की ABCD ही नहीं पता, you cannot understand or even talk in that language. So that is lang and parole. Next is synchronical and diachronical. Synchronical is actually study of language at one point. For example, in 21st century, in this particular year, the study of language, if we do it in this year, it would be known as synchronical study. And diachronical is the study of language from a passage of time, from quite some time, from past few years or more than few years. So the passage of study for a long time is known as diachronical. So this is what Ferdinand de Saussure he came up with in his work Course in General Linguistics. So we just talked about Ferdinand de Saussure, his course of General Linguistics, and his concept of signs and lang and parole and synchronical and diachronical, and of course whatever he thinks about the meaning, about its arbitrariness, about its relational property and all those things. Let's take a few questions, okay? So meaning, for sure, they have asked the questions like, there is another theorist by the name of Julia Kristeva, and she has written this work called Intertextuality. Now, intertextuality is actually, the idea of intertextuality came from Saussure's course of general linguistics, or his Ferdinand's concept of sign. So they have asked this question that who was the inspiration, or what was the inspiration for Julia Kristeva's intertextuality. So that would be Ferdinand de Saussure's concept of sign. Also, there is this one another question that they asked, and that was about founder of semiotics. Who are the founder of semiotics? Semiotics is a study, we'll talk about it later on. So founder of semiotics are actually Saussure and Charles Sanders Peirce. Charles Sanders Peirce, we'll talk about him now. So Peirce and Ferdinand, they are actually known as the founder of semiotics. These were the two questions that they have asked, and now moving on, we'll talk about the second structuralist, and that is Charles Sanders Peirce. Charles Sanders Peirce, he was born in 1839 and he died in 1914. He was American philosopher, and he is also known as father of pragmatism. An American philosopher and known as father of pragmatism. He has given this beautiful concept of sign. Now, Ferdinand also gave this concept of sign, and Peirce also gave this concept of sign, but there is a difference. Ferdinand was the one who said that there are two concepts, signifier and the signified. Peirce, on the other hand, he came up with three terms. He said that there is a sign, there is sign, then there is an object, and then there is an interpretant. So what he mean by that is that there is a sign, there is something which there is a signifier. Then there is an object which is signified. Then there is an interpretant. There is someone who interprets what a sign or an object is. That is most of the time us human. We are the one who have this concept of signifier and signified in our brain, and we are the one who interpret it. So he came up with this third term of interpretant. He has given three kind of sign, and it's important for you to know about them, at least a little bit about them. The first kind of sign that he came up with is icon. He said that there are three signs, and first of them is icon, I-C-O-N, icon. Icon, they are actually physical signifiers. They resemble to the signified. They are actually resembling the signified. For example, a portrait. A portrait is a drawing of a person. So a portrait and a person are supposed to look similar. So a portrait is the icon. It's a sign of the human or of a dog or of anything which it is made about. So our icon is a resemblance, is complete resemblance to the signified. Second type of signs are index. Index shows a direct link between signifier and signified. For example, in buildings or anywhere where there are those large electric things, those sockets and stuff, they have this danger sign in front of it. So that means it very clearly shows that if you are going to touch them, there is a danger there. So you are not supposed to do that. You are not supposed to touch that. तो वो danger sign दिखाता है कि वहाँ मत जाए, वहाँ खतरा है. So that is index. We have icon, we have index, and third one is symbol. Symbol are actually, there is no resemblance between signifier and signified, and they are learned over a passage of time. We learn them. For example, there are traffic signs, and there are signs on the roads and all those things. So they're not in direct link, but we learn them with the passage of time. This was about Charles Sanders Peirce. He came up with these ideas. Next up, we have Claude Levi-Strauss. Claude Levi-Strauss was actually born in 1908 and he died in 2009, and he's a French critic, French theorist, and he has written an important work with the name of Structural Anthropology. Structural anthropology, the idea of this structural anthropology is from another theorist with the name of Nicolai, and Charles Sanders and Claude Levi-Strauss was actually inspired from Prague Literary School, Prague School of Structural Linguistics. In structural anthropology, he gave two concepts. One was of binary opposition. He says that man think in binary. We think of anything as either black or white. There are either male or female. There is good or bad. We are not yet comfortable with the intermediate things which are in between the good or the bad, or black or the white, death and life. So he gave this concept of binary opposition. He also gave the concept of myth and kinship. In myth and kinship, he says that all the myths, they have the same structural approach, they have same structure. The second work that he has written in Elementary Structure of Kinship, and in Elementary Structure of Kinship, he says that there are a definite set of relationship between human. They are brother and sister, husband and wife, and other relations like that. So this is what Claude Levi-Strauss says in his work. So we have discussed three important structural theorists. There are many of them, but we cannot cover all of them in one video. It will become boring, and of course it will become difficult to understand. So we'll talk about them, of course, in the coming videos. And I hope my approach is okay. I hope I can make you understand. I can make them easier for you to understand. If you have any doubts, any queries, or any suggestions, make sure you drop them in the comment box, and do subscribe to the channel. I'll make more videos, and I'll try to make them as easy as I can, and share these videos with your friends, and keep on studying, keep on reading. Wish you a very happy and good day.